curbing off the bottom, but that leads you onto the back straightaway. Another long straightaway, get down into that turn 9, and that is where it gets tricky because the bumps are still there under braking. I think we've seen McLaughlin have issues with that yesterday. That's where he had that accident, got into those bumps there, missed a shift as well, but we see a lot of cars going to the barrier. Turn 10, hard to pass through there. Just a left-hander. You're just trying to get set up for that right-hander turn 11. But it makes for an exciting racetrack, exciting for racing and driving here at Long Beach.
In order to take full advantage of that hairpin and maintain as much momentum as you can we call the two most important turns maybe to that end? Like the important one, 1A and important 1B would be 10 and then 11?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. Those are the very important parts that you just need to be smooth and good through there and not make any mistakes, as you said. And it's about that, too. It's coming off of corners and making momentum down these straightaways, especially on street courses, Mark, where it's very hard to pass, as we know. So you have to make it more difficult for the car behind you, and that is all about getting through those corners, keeping momentum up, and being able to accelerate onto those straightaways.
There is an elevation change to that once you clear that bridge, but I think it's so gradual it really doesn't affect the braking over the course of a run, does it?
No, it really doesn't, and you're right. It's very gradual. Got to remember that there is some elevation changes here, even though it's a street course. We're down in the basin. There's a hill going up to Ocean Boulevard, but we're not using very much of that. But that elevation change doesn't really make too much of a difference, but it is there, and you have to pay attention to it.
What do you think about going back to the single car qualifying format for the Fast 6?
I like it. You know, I think it's back to car and machine. I mean, man and machine. They have to get that perfect lap in, Mark. It's that challenge themselves. It's getting the most extracted out of that race car in that one lap, and I just think it's good. I think it's good for the drivers just to have to lay it on the line and make sure that you don't put a wheel wrong, other than having 4, 5, 6 laps to be able to do it. I think it's great.
Now, they obviously did a post-mortem on Arlington, and that was a rarity because in that instance, Marcus Ericsson was the first one to go out, and that time held up through 6 qualifiers. So now the fastest qualifier from segment 2 will be the first to choose which position they would like to make their Fast 6 qualifying run, with subsequent choices made for the remaining position based upon the order of segment 2.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it. I like that. I like that format to allow them to choose like that. And as we've seen, as you just mentioned, Marcus Ericsson was 6th quickest. He was the first one out there and ended up on the pole. So the fastest guy in this format doesn't always go the fastest in qualifying. So, and that mixes it up, and I think it makes it exciting for the race, no question.
Now, as far as the tire declaration, once the qualifying order is determined, teams will then make their tire selection, primary or alternates, prior to lining up single file, and the order of their qualifying run at pit out to await their qualifying.
Yeah, and if I recall, the red tires, I mean, you want to go for the pole, right? And so it's so tempting to put that stick of reds on there and go do it, but then you don't want to mess your race up. The big picture's the race. Qualifying pays, but not very much. The race is the one that pays all the big money and the big points. So I think, man, it's so hard. It's going to change at every event, but I have to think just openly that you try to do it on the scuffs, just like we've seen in the past, or you try to transfer into one of the rounds on the same set of tires and not use that extra set of tires to get into the round. We've seen that happen before as well, but you want a good set, but you don't want to ruin your race either.
Weather conditions may necessitate a change or cause a change in track conditions. We could get rain, obviously not this weekend, but if that happens, they've already said they can revert to traditional Firestone Fast 6 qualifying, which is an all-skate, or they could use the results from segment 2 to set the starting lineup for the race. 8 minutes remaining in this session. We'll do the full-tilt rundown after we check in with Brian Marine.
And it's the AAA Chevy that's sitting right in front of me, Scott McLaughlin, who again was in the wall yesterday. It's been a pretty good session for them so far, but it does seem like Scott might have flirted with the concrete walls once again here in practice 2. The right front Firestone has white scuff marks all around the outside edge of that tire, and the crew was taking a close look at the right front suspension. In fact, just a few moments ago, Tim Cindric, who calls strategy for Scott, tapped one of his crew members on the shoulder and pointed to that corner, got a thumbs up in return, so it seems like all's well. They just completed a chassis change, a suspension change at the back of the number 3 machine, and it looks like they've just wrapped up with that. They're about to fire up the Chevy engine and send Scott McLaughlin back out.
I would say that it is an elite fraternity, Davey, of this field of 25 that can go through the course of this weekend at Long Beach and their Firestone Firehawks not touch the wall somewhere at some time.
yeah, that's it. Just happens, right? Anytime you go to any temporary course, there's walls completely around the entire course. It's very tight in some areas, and there's going to be some white wall. And probably almost every car, as you just said, Mark, is going to have a teeny scuff somewhere or very close to it around these temporary courses.
7-minute mark of this all skate. Pato Award is P1 and a 67. 9.25. He just went a tick quicker. Joseph Newgarden second quick. Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Will Power in the top 5. Then Kirkwood, Simpson, McLaughlin, Malukas, and Rossi the top 10. Christian Lundgaard in a 68.352. Felix Rosenquist is fast. Marcus Armstrong 13th. And then we get to the middle of the pack where we find Rinus VeeKay, Marcus Ericsson, Kyle Collette, Rasmussen, Foster, Siegel, and Rahal. And then in 21st is Mick Schumacher, then Dennis Hauger, Roman Grosjean, Stingray Robb, and Davey, we continue to scratch our head a bit over Santino Ferrucci. He's 25th fastest in the session.
Yeah, just, he put himself up like 22nd a few laps ago, but fell back down to that 25th spot. So just struggling over there right now.
Back to Ryan Marine.
Well, if you recall last year, Santino started 27th and last in the race here at Long Beach, but it finished in 11th. So I talked to him at the bullpen earlier this week and brought that up, and he kind of chuckled. Yeah, we gave ourselves a little bit too much work during the race. We really felt like we had a race car that could contend at the front, but they didn't feel like they had the qualifying speed. And that was a trend last year. He pointed out, though, they have qualified better in 2026, most notably the last time out at Barber, starting and finishing inside the top 10. And he was hopeful that they would be able to replicate that feat here in Long Beach, but so far it looks quite similar to last year when he started last and had to race his way forward 16 positions on Sunday.
Street races are notorious for putting an emphasis on track position and your qualifying position, Davey, but for those of you that weren't with us yesterday, we'll share with you again over the history of this event, which dates back to 1984. Only 6 drivers have won Long Beach from the pole.
Yeah, the pole doesn't mean everything, but as we mentioned, you want to be on that pole and you want to try to change those stats, but it comes from other places other than just the pole. And I think that you can throw some strategy in there, and I think when you're in the pole, you kind of say, hey, we're going to try to get up in the lead, we're just going to lead this race, we're going to just do a standard thing, and then all of a sudden guys behind you are doing different strategies, whether the yellow comes out or whatever may happen. Sometimes just the straight strategy doesn't work, and I look at some of these times too that you have to be a team effort. Everybody's got teammates here, and you look at Collette, he's a 1:08.5 in that Foyt car. Then you got a 1:09.2, so about 7/10 of a second slower for Ferrucci. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a mile. That goes from 16th to 25th place on the board, and they're going to be able to go down into the trucks after this session, really debrief, download everything, and just find out where Santino isn't happy or what he doesn't like about that car to change it. And I think we can see that with a lot of these teammates throughout the field.
I mean, to your point, Davey, it talks about how tight and competitive this field is. And we look at our timing and scoring, and we go all the way down through the 22nd position, and you've got to go to 23rd to find somebody that's in the 109s. I mean, everybody's, the top couple now have just cracked the 67-second range, and then we go down to 22nd and a 108, and then we've got Rob, Grosjean, and Ferrucci at 109.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's 1 through 21st within a second. It's unbelievable. I mean, how close that is. And, I keep telling you, it's 1,001. That's the difference between 22 or 21 of our guys right now. So it's remarkable just how close these teams are. And now imagine that you're only a 10th or 2 off, but you got to pass 5 extra cars because of that 10th. It makes a big difference.
And to that end, we talk about the checklist. We talked to some of the drivers yesterday about what their checklist is like, most notably Will Power, and we asked them what they try to work through over the course of the weekend, and I think 218 right now. The process is just making long runs at this session, figuring out just how those primaries are going to work, and then they'll use these shorter sessions to figure out find themselves in 11 or 12 today.
Yeah, that's correct. And so I think what we may be seeing here, too, later on in these sessions, or actually when we do the split sessions, is maybe some new tires coming on just to try to lay a lap down. We'll have to wait and see. I seen that, for example, Ericsson, he was in that 15th spot. He shot just a lap ago, shot himself to the top 4. So, and then how about this? Simpson went from, he was way back in the field. He's P3 right now. So that's telling me some of these teams are trying out some new Firestone Firehawks on these cars and get that little extra speed out of them.
Yeah, Kiffin Simpson got out of the gate fairly strong, Davey. Had a 15th at St. Pete and grabbed the top 10. Drove a great race at Phoenix after starting 19th. But I know he's a little disappointed at Arlington and Barber when he came home 20th at the moment.
Yeah, got a couple penalties there for unavoidable contact. It didn't do him any good. Set him in the back of that field. So you're right. Came out of the gates hot. He just needs to regroup a little bit. I think he's doing a really good job. I always say he's got the best teammates in the whole paddock because you got 7-time champion, I think, and a 4-time champion, right, as your teammate, something like that. I mean, it's pretty amazing what he has to feed off of. And so he's going to get there. He's been impressive. I think that he's fighting to find that speed and be as good as those guys. And when, yeah, man, when you have teammates like that, it's so hard because you're just so talented.
Started 5th at St. Petersburg. Did David Malukas finished in the 13th position. But since that time, Davey, he's getting his legs underneath him with Team Penske. 3rd in Phoenix, 6th at Arlington, and a 4th place at Barber. Yeah, when's it going to come, right? We know it's coming. We know that he's going to be on top of the podium, and it's going to happen. We just don't know when that is. He's still a good, consistent run. He's the highest in points out of all the Penske cars. So he's doing what he's supposed to do and just keeps, fighting along, learning a new team, learning how these cars are, and really not making any mistakes. So I give him a lot of credit. Now, the bottom line is this. With a minute to go in the session, and Award, Kirkwood, Rosenquist, Simpson, Ericsson, your top 5. Davey, we talk about pressure, and obviously there's a lot of pressure on David Malukas driving for Team Penske, but I would imagine that if we go back to when Davey Hamilton landed with A.J. Foyt, people probably looked at that and said, well, Davey's got a lot of pressure on him, but I don't know that because of the way that you guys and gals are constructed and your mental makeup, I don't think that any team owner could put any more pressure than you all put on yourselves. No, that's it. It's really not the team. The team tells you that they're supporting you, and they'll do anything they can to make you comfortable, happy, fast. But you put so much pressure on yourself, as you just said, as we see Simpson spin around, and he's continued on. But you're right. It's definitely about the driver put pressure on himself and trying not to make those mistakes. Just seconds left in this session, and by the time I complete this sentence, we'll probably see the checkered flag. And Kiffin Simpson is back underway after he went into the off in turn 1. Let's go to Ryan Marine.
Maybe the busiest guy in Long Beach is Mike Shank. He's one of several team owners with cars in both the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the NTT IndyCar Series. Let's focus on IndyCar here first, though, Mike. You got a couple of cars that have been there or thereabouts through 2 practices so far with Felix and Marcus. What are they telling you about their cars so far?
Yeah, they're pretty happy. Both our cars are in pretty good shape right now. Super excited to have Acura and Green Day on the 60 and Remax, of course, on the 66. Lots of commercial partnerships here, which is a great sign for IndyCar.
Yeah, that Green Day partnership, I know that got a lot of attention. We got Trey coming here later on this weekend or tomorrow. That will be fantastic. I know Felix is a big Green Day fan. Are you?
Yeah, no, I am. I grew up with them.
Me too.
They're close to my age, and I grew up with them. I love having Trey here. We're going to show him a good time. He's going to do the 2-seater. And we'll welcome him and his pole posse in tomorrow.
Fantastic stuff. This is a massive event because of your close relationship with Honda and with Acura. They're the title sponsor of this event. So does this one get as much attention as just about any on the calendar?
It's a big one for us. This is the home base for American Honda, and we want to do well for them and Acura here. We have the 93, 76 car on the pole in the IMSA GTP race, so we're really proud of that. The other car had a little problem in practice yesterday, so we have a new car, a new tub under that. Both ends of the field there. Exciting day later on today. And on the IndyCar side, I mean, this is one of the top 3 races we do every year. So have not won it before, want to win it. Haven't won it on the IMSA side either. Need to win it. Look forward to a good day here.
And should have a good chance because I think in the last 5 years, 12 of the 13 class winners have come from first, second, or third here at Long Beach, and you start from pole, like you said.
Yeah, it says a lot about the kind of track it is. You just got to be up front and qualifying. That's why it hurt the one IMSA car so bad yesterday. But it is tough to pass, even though we got this long straightaway. But I think both cars on the IndyCar side are in good shape here. I mean, we're really hoping for a transfer all the way to the top 6. That would be a good start to the day.
Felix, got your first ever IndyCar pole here a couple of years ago in 2024. Can either of them repeat that feat?
I think we're close. You know, the Andretti cars seem to have a little something when it comes to ultimate one-speed. If we could get them both in the top 6 to start, I'd be happy.
All right, we'll wish you the best. That's Mike Shank.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Davey, I think that if you're going to come to the series, you're going to bring a new team to the series. I think if you could follow the blueprint set forth by Myers Shank, I think you got to like your chances of being around for a long time.
Yeah, you know, we never knew. You know, we've seen a lot of teams come in and try getting IndyCar racing, and some made it, some failed. But you look at how Myers Shank did it, and I tell people all the time, they did it the best way. I think they came in part-time with Jack Harvey, just going to run a few races here and there, just get their feet wet, and then the 500, and then the next year they decided to be full-time, and then they decided to have a full-time car and an Indy 500 car. And by the way, they won the Indy 500 with Elio Castroneves, and then they go to 2 full cars. He just they got their feet wet. They didn't overextend themselves. They learned as they went. They got fast, and I mean, what a a good way to enter yourself in the IndyCar series.
We have wrapped up the 40-minute session, just a couple of minutes before we get group number 1 underway. And Davey, here's how tight it is. We talked about it. How about a 67.791 for Award and a 67.794 for Kyle Kirkwood?
Yeah, no, right on top of each other. And that's what we continue to talk about, just how close this field is. And when you have majority of the field within 1 second, just amazing. And we see, Grosjean having a little bit of problem. He's the last guy in line right now in that Del Coin car. Then you got Stingray, Rob, Ferrucci, Schumacher. Got some laps in. I know he's 22nd, but at least he got some laps in learning this track.
Interesting to note the pendulum swings widely for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Graham Rahal 5th in that group, and yet you look toward the bottom and find Louis Foster and Mick Schumacher in 21st and 22nd.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where. I mean, Graham, obviously was on the podium in the last race. Had a really good run. Seems like that team's getting better and better. I know they had a motor issue with Schumacher yesterday, not allowing him to get very many laps in. But Foster just don't know what's going on there. Just doesn't have the speed. I know he doesn't like ovals. I mean, I know that's not his forte. He just tries to get through those. But, he's usually has a lot of speed on the street, road courses, and just something's not meshing over there right now. Finds himself in that 21st spot.
Well, not meshing for him and for Schumacher, and maybe it's a situation where they just don't quite have the experience that they need, Davey, because you look at the veteran in Graham Rahal. I mean, gosh, over 300 starts in his career, and whatever changes they've made, I think by and large have benefited Graham. I mean, I know he finished 24th at Arlington, but my gosh, a podium at Phoenix and a podium at Barber, that tells you that whatever changes they have made certainly seem to agree with Graham Rahal at this point.
Totally agree. I talked to Jay Fry at the hotel last night and congratulate him. I think that he's turning the team a little different direction. They moved a lot of personnel around. They brought Jay in, the top management. And I see it. I see it with Graham more than anybody, but I think Schumacher, like the engine situation, out of their control. I know he got taken out of the race, kind of out of his control. They just need to figure out what system that they need or what setup they need for Foster to be a little faster. But I see as a team them getting better and better.
We have just about a minute before you'll hear the engines roar to life for the green flag fly. We want you to join us at 3:30 local time, 6:30 Eastern this afternoon as we go qualifying. The first couple of rounds, of course, the knockout qualifying format. So please stay with us for that. Let's go back to Ryan Marine.
Larry Foyt oversees the A.J. Foyt Racing operation. We've been talking about your two drivers. Kyle Collette kind of in the middle of the pack, but Santino looks like he's still looking for a little speed. What can you tell us about what he said about the race car?
Just really struggling in the brake zone, so trying to figure that out, get the car in a happy place where he can stop it the way he wants to, and then you can start the corner. So that's you got to get the brake zone right before you can do the rest.
Understandable. Now, I guess the good news is he came from the back, worked his way almost into the top 10 last year. I'm sure that's not the way you'd like to go about it, but does it give you some hope that it could be a possibility?
Yeah, the difference was last year we were actually pretty quick. He just brushed the wall in qualifying, which is why we had to start in the back, but he was on a really good lap. So we're kind of scratching our heads a little bit because we didn't come very different from how we were last year. So it's a little bit of a struggle at the moment.
Can you use anything that Kaio is using? Does it translate between the two?
Oh, sure. I mean, setup-wise, they're not crazy different. So that's the thing, just trying to figure out what's going on in the braking right now.
And finally, looking ahead to next month, everybody focusing, of course, on the biggest race in the world. We know that there's an effort being put on to try and put a 33rd entry together. Your team is one that's been in the rumor mill. Is there anything you could tell us about whether or not you would be there to answer the bell?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking at it, but focused on today right now.
That's understandable. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, and then it really kind of all started to be discussed, I think, in earnest about midday yesterday, Davey. And it looks like that there might be a third car with that race team with Catherine Legg at the wheel.
Yeah, I think, well, and today that's even getting mixed up. I feel like it will be an AJ Foyt entry. I do feel that Catherine has the upper leg, but I do know there's a couple drivers that have came up with a lot of money to be able to put themselves in the 500, and I mean a lot of money to make it really valuable and appetizing for a team to do. So that's why there's, I think, been no announcements yet, because there's some other opportunities with drivers and potentially with that kind of money, other teams as well.
Well, I think what it boils down to is that Larry's answer, while much shorter, essentially said the same thing that you just said.
Yeah, and I think that, and I think that's just the situation. And I do feel I do feel confident that it's maybe in that Foyt camp is where that other car is going to come from. But just because I know that anytime a good sponsor comes for the Indy 500, good money, that, other teams could rise to. A matter of fact, we talked about the Andretti team putting a fourth car in for Marco, but then he said no, so then they decided to pull that entry. But you never know. They may be able to change their mind.
Pillow, Dixon, Lundgaard, Armstrong, Malukas, Collette, Rasmussen, Rossi, Simpson, Rahal, Siegel, Robb, and Hauger make up this group. Let's go to Jonathan.
I'm down to pit lane with Connor Daly. Connor, we were just talking about the 500 and speculating. We know that we'll see you back in the saddle soon. First of all, how excited are you for that? Because it's right around the corner. It's a couple weeks away.
Oh, I'm super pumped. I mean, it's such a great time of year. Even being here in Long Beach, you kind of know you're getting close, and I love this event so much. It definitely hurts to watch, but our partner Arco's out there on Rinus VK's car, and they're going to be on our car at the Indianapolis 500, so really excited to just support them and be here with those guys. But yeah, the Indy 500 is the greatest time in the world, better than Christmas, birthdays, everything wrapped into one. So we just can't wait to get going with the Dreyer Reinbold Chevrolet.
The grid itself and who's going to fill the grid has been the talk of the paddock. Care to wager in who we might see in the month of May?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of rumors, and I see, good drivers like J.R. Hildebrand walking around here too. Like, he'd be a good one to fill those seats. But who knows, man? I mean, I think you're obviously going to see 33. We're obviously going to have a probably really competitive field once again. And I'm sure it'll be sooner rather than later that we find out who those lucky 33 will be. And then if there's any more, that would be awesome, obviously. But yeah, it's kind of fun to start looking at who are going to be those special 33 folks.
As a driver yourself, can you speak to that position that some of these drivers may find themselves in? It's a will they, won't they? You might have the funding, but it's so much more than that to get a place on the grid for the 500.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in it all the time. I'm always looking for jobs. So it's definitely, it's a difficult position to be in, but if you do have a chance at something, and if you do have a chance at a seat, that feeling of excitement and anticipation is incredible, especially for the Indianapolis 500. And I'm obviously one of the lucky ones to be in and to be going for it, and we have a great team to do it with. So I wish there could be 40 cars trying to qualify. Obviously, I think a lot of people do, but it's still going to be awesome for those 33 that do get a chance.
Half the battle is picking up sponsorship as well. It's something you know about. I think you did it here a year ago. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this whole ARCO relationship started last year here at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, and that obviously turned into our AM/PM car at the Indianapolis 500 last year, which we had such a good shot at winning, and several other races last year too. So it's just awesome to be able to represent for them and to see this partnership expand. And obviously, I'm not behind the wheel, which is a little odd and difficult for me, but still working with Rinus and the Juncos Hollinger racing team a little bit is meaningful, and we want to just continue to grow that relationship and see it for many years to come.
Super excited to see you back in the month of May. You're always someone who's quick in Indy, so we'll see you soon.
Thank
Yeah, good stuff. And, Davey, there's no doubt about it. And all the turn guys can reaffirm this. The energy level goes up when Connor Daly takes the lead at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, he's one of the local favorites, isn't he? I mean, between Ed Carpenter, two Indiana guys that have had passion for the Indianapolis 500 for years and years since they were kids, and now them being able to do it and be competitive and being able to have the opportunity to win is huge, and they're definitely a fan favorite.
I really thought, and Jonathan asked him about it, he referenced it a year ago. I mean, it was literally at like a meet and greet autograph session when that whole sponsorship began to materialize for Connor Daly. And again, I think that reaffirms what we talked about before. I mean, if you're going to sit at home and wait on the phone to ring, in this day and age, it's not going to ring. You heard them talk about all the drivers that are walking around the paddock and whatnot. You got to be front and center with these teams and these owners.
Yeah, no question about it. So, out of sight, out of mind, Mark. That's pure and simple. Out of sight, out of mind. And so Connor, he comes to every race. He does some social media stuff. He's got his own podcast. He's doing everything he can to stay relevant. He's doing a great job with Arco, making sure they're taken care of. I'm actually part of Dryden Reinbold, as you know, for the 500. He's been there every practice session doing pit stop practices. He shows up. He's got excitement. He wants to be full-time again. So that's what he's striving to do. But when you can't, you just focus on the Indy 500.
Christian Lundgaard is the early leader in this session, and everybody right now continues to roll around on the primaries. Alexander Rossi is second fast. Everybody in that 68 range. Lundgaard at a 68.152, and then Rossi, Kyle Collette third fastest for now. Then Rasmussen, Simpson, Malukas, Palou, Robb, Dixon, Siegel, and Armstrong. Those are the 11 drivers. So, Davey, what do you reckon the focus is in this the particular session, this 12-minute session for these teams and drivers?
Yeah, now, right here, you got open track time. I think that they've got some new tires on. Most of them looks like the primary, and they're going to do, a bit of a qualifying sim because that's very next, just to do a bit of a qualifying sim. It's not on their red tires. They're not going to be as fast now as they are in qualifying, but just to get the flow down, kind of track conditions, just see what changes they need to make to try to get ready for qualifying.
We talk about how technical that hairpin is and how vital it is, and the lead from 10 up to 11. But boy, on the multi-screen monitor that we have, the part of this racetrack that impresses me perhaps the most is once they clear turn 1, that from all the way around to turn number 5. I mean, 2, 3, and 4, especially around that fountain. I mean, that is much trickier than it looks.
Because it's not high speed. I mean, you're going around that fountain. It's a first gear fountain, but you got to turn left, right, left, and there's walls. You're just barely missing those walls, and then get set up for turn 4. It's challenging down there, and you don't want to put a wheel wrong. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I like that area of the racetrack. It's hard to pass, but you need to be faster there when it comes to qualifying. Now in the race, that's a bit of a breather down there because if you're not super fast, there's not a lot of overtaking. But the key in the race time to be fast off of those corners. But the fountain always brings a little extra challenge. How many times have we seen it? Somebody's going to try to pass around the outside down there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I know it's not 9/10 of a mile long like the back stretch at Arlington, but this front stretch here at Long Beach, boy, you got to wonder at some point if you're ever going to get to turn 1.
Another thing about that, when we call it front straight, and it has that bend, and so you're turning right the entire time, and you get a lot of G-force in that, even though it's not a risk of going wide open through there. The car's easy to go wide open, but you pull some G-force, and it takes a long time, and it's blind, so you're always looking around that corner. And once turn 1 finally appears, it's not much farther before you got to get hard on those brakes and try to set up that guy down there in that first corner.
Got a warm-up session tomorrow. We think that's going to be a significant one, and that one, join us for that at 10:10 local time, 1:10 Eastern time. And all of these drivers, by the time we wrap up qualifying, will tell you today that whatever questions they may have lingering, and what's interesting, Davey, is the bottom 12 will have questions, and the top 12 will have questions by the time they get to the final warm-up.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody does something a little different, and that's one great thing about having teammates. And we talked to, Ryan talked about Ed Carpenter having one car really fast yesterday, one way off the pace. That's because they go two different directions, and I think we'll see that just a little bit in this session. Qualifying, though, they're going to have to do what they feel is best for themselves. But when that final warm-up comes, that's the last chance they have to really get these cars to the driver's liking. And you got to remember, there's so many other things. You got to put a shout out to all these teams because the driver could put not one wheel wrong and absolutely make it perfect and be fast. But those crew members, they have a lot of pressure too, Mark. You make one small mistake on pit lane, losing a wheel nut, or just not plugging your fuel quick enough. A lot of things that could cost them the race. So there's a lot of pressure on that side of it as well.
A couple of drivers starting to get into that 67-second range, Davey. David Malukas has gone to P1 at a 67.775. Armstrong at a 67.881. And Alex Below, third quick in this session at minute 7.911.
Yeah, watching Alex on the inboard camera, and he is hustling that car. It isn't quite perfect. It's moving around a little more than he would like. Shows on his speed. I know P3 is very good for him, but it's not where he wants it. He wants to get a little more grip in the back of that car. I see it sliding around some. So he has to fight a little bit more to try to get P1. He's on a hot lap right now, going down in turn 8 as we talk. Oh, and that back end, again, slides around just a little bit.
Look at that.
Barely misses that outside wall.
And again, the car in a little different livery with that sponsorship, and working on a documentary that he's going to be featured in, and as part of the sponsorship for this weekend, talking about Alex Below, and they're hoping for a good weekend for him for sure, and he continues his hot streak that dates back, I don't know, what, 20, 30, 40 races, something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a long time ago. And by the way, we've seen that back in at the same time, Mark, seeing how that thing slid out down there in turn 8. Still goes faster because of 67.83 right behind Malukas, puts him in P2.
Looks like we have an issue for the 6 machine.
Ooh,
Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, big contact. Yeah, right, left front tire. Oh, barely hanging on that car. He's trying to make it in. He just has to come to a stop.
Yeah, he does so just shy of the hairpin, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where he is at right there, but that's off of turn 8. He almost made it into pit lane, the back door to the pit lane right there, but yeah, definitely hard contact, that left front fold up. That's something he definitely doesn't need. A little replay right now. Oh, it was over in that turn 8 where we seen Below get close, but he hit it hard, hit that left side's hard to knock that front suspension right out of it.
And I'll tell you, there is one acceptable entry into turn number 8 and one acceptable entry into turn number 9, and as far as turn 8, that ain't it.
That's not it right there, and you can just see how he slid that back. Alex kept his under control, missed that wall, but he did not. He got that back end in there and then slapped that front against it, and it really folded the front of that car up.
So only he knows for sure, but just you diagnosing that.
Yeah.
McLaughlin talked about the entry point into that turn, and may have missed the gear that could have avoided that contact. So what maybe do you think that Siegel did wrong in terms of the entry into that turn?
I think he was just trying to find some speed. He found he was in that 8th fastest spot right there. He knows he needs to find speed. Just went in there a little bit too hard, just trying to get the max out of that car, max speed out of that corner. And that's what happens when you go over the edge. It just when you go over the edge, it just it puts you in danger.
Because of the fact that there was a minute 32 left, it's about a 15-minute window to get this 12-minute session in, Davey. Once they get that car extricated, Nolan Siegel got out of the car. He's okay, climbing in the AMR IndyCar safety vehicle, and he'll go to the infield care center. Hopefully we can catch up with him in a few minutes. But every one of these drivers, the 12 in this session, well, except for Nolan Siegel, of course, going to be given a one-time lap.
One-time lap, exactly right. And one thing we talked, and that which is good, to give everybody that out lap, we talked about it. And some people, well, what's it worth going out just for one lap? Well, that one lap means a lot because you have to be good on your out laps as well. After you make a pit stop, get it up to speed as quick as you can without making the mistakes. And so it is a key lap to go out try it. And one thing we talked about at the start of the season, guys that need results, right, that need to make sure that they start running up front. And this is another one with Siegel, just not what he needed. Just he needs some results to make sure that he continues where he wants to be, and that is an IndyCar. But right now it's not having the luck he needs to seal that seat.
Had a weekend in conjunction with NASCAR at Phoenix earlier this season, and Brian Marine, that was wildly successful. But, I've been seeing a lot of reports after the crowds that were on hand in Long Beach yesterday and what people are seeing today. Certainly the partnership between the NTT IndyCar Series and IMSA is nothing new. But, boy, when they are together, the people do turn out en masse.
Yeah, you just wish it could happen a little more often because there's such great crossover between fans and sponsors, manufacturers, teams that are running in both, and it just makes for such a good show across the entire weekend. But you're right, the WeatherTech Championship here this weekend with 2 of its classes, GTP, the top-level prototypes, with Meyershank Racing scoring pole position yesterday, and they'll be starting on pole here in just about an hour or so. Right after this qualifying session ends, then the WeatherTech Championship cars are on the track. And then in the GTD class, these are your factory, your more showroom stock style class, although it's GT3 regulation, so a far cry from a showroom car. But how about the story of Robert Wickens starting on pole position, racing with hand controls? Amazingly, he had not even tested a car. He had not been in a race car until this weekend since last August, and immediately has been right up to speed. Put in the second fastest time in qualifying, but the Vassar Sullivan Lexus that got the pole position got thrown out for being too low to the ground in post-qualifying tech, so that elevates Robert to pole. And this is a track, we talked about it in IndyCar, it's true in the sports cars too. If you start up front, there's a good chance you could end up front. What a story it would be if Robert Wickens could get a podium or maybe even a race win later on today.
Yeah, for those of you that may not be familiar with the story, Davey Hamilton, as they say in this day and age, I would Google Robert Wickens because it is a story worth learning about if you're not familiar with who he is.
Yeah, that's right. Robert has so much talent, so much raw talent, and unfortunately made it in IndyCar. And what a superstar he was right off the bat. We knew he was going to be a champion and a winner. Just an unfortunate accident happened in Pocono, left him paralyzed, and so he has no use of his legs, or minimal use of his legs, I should say. I think he's getting better and better, but as Ryan said, hand controls in that race car, and just the things that you have to do to become a strong racing driver again, and learn to do it with just your hands only, not using your feet, is remarkable. And this guy, what an inspiration to a lot of people, and not just to be able to do it, but be able to go do it and be on a pole and try to go for wins.
Yeah, there's no question, Davey, that for those of you that might be under the impression that somehow installing the hand controls might make it easier for him, nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, no, that's not easy. And I've dealt with hand controls with some of my friends that we set up hand controls for. It's not easy. And to be competitive with cars and athletes that are 100% healthy and using the cars that they're supposed to be used, and him being able to keep up with them is just remarkable.
Yeah, it's a great story for sure, and we wish him well. And I know a lot of folks are very, very happy for Robert Wickens grabbing that pole, and thanks to Ryan Marine for that update and that preview of the IMSA weekend. And Davey, I do. I like the fact that that we appear with them regularly. I echo Ryan's sentiments. Wish we could be with them more. Yeah. I know that Doug Bowles was quoted as saying that they're already working on the 2027 calendar and looking at the right place to maybe add a date in April to beat the April schedule up a little more, and a few more countries, parts of the country that are underserved and countries underserved are being considered. And I think what it boils down to is that, having been a promoter for a number of years, yeah, you'd like to race at a lot of racetracks, but it's got to be a place that makes sense.
Yeah, it's got to make sense, and you got to have a fan base there. Well, and I think the fan base, no matter where we go, I think they'll come. We have such a great item and such a great product with IndyCar right now, and to team up with people, as we talked about, with the sports cars or with NASCAR, it's fantastic, and I think it brings so much synergy, and these fans love it. I mean, as we talked about yesterday, I don't know what the occupancy here was supposed to be yesterday, but I promise you it was over it. I mean, it was a massive amount of people here yesterday, and it's going to be the same today and tomorrow. So there's a lot of excitement, and Phoenix was a huge hit with NASCAR, and I think they're going to do more of it, and hats off to them.
Green flag flies, and they'll get one-time lap. And let's go back to Phoenix. I mean, we had a doubleheader scenario in place for a while at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but the thing in Phoenix, it just felt like that everybody from top to bottom was much more invested in it than what we saw when we had the doubleheader weekends at the Speedway.
Yeah, and I think, that both the series, obviously on the IndyCar side, that we've elevated so much with our drivers, our program, our tech, how we race, how we're so competitive. I think that helps as well. But yeah, it was a step above, wasn't it, Mark? And I think it was exciting for IndyCar to get back to Phoenix. I think that was a big joy. I mean, Phoenix was a huge part of the IndyCar schedule for years and years, and when it left, it was a real bummer, and that's exciting to be back to just that racetrack.
And we worked closely with our friends at MRN, and once upon a time, I don't think that would have happened either.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly right. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So 28 seconds remaining, and again, time had expired. And when we say one-time lap, we shouldn't make note of the fact that it's not anything that you're required to do. You don't have to take that one more time lap, although most teams are going to take advantage of it. But so a clock starts and they have so much time to leave the pits before they're told, no, you missed your chance, you got to stay put.
Yeah, and I think that time is just stopped. It just stopped. You have to leave by right now. And so everybody will come around, as you just said, one time lap. They'll be able to come around. They're on the gas to start the timeline. I made a mistake yesterday saying it was between 10 and 11. It's actually between 11 and pit in. So you come off that hairpin, then you cross, and then you come in the pit in right there. So that's where the timeline is. They'll be able to do that, and then second group will be able to be allowed to come out and see what they have.
So we posed the question earlier as to how many stops we think that it'll take. Have you started to do that math yet? Or are you going to wait for that warm-up tomorrow?
Yeah, I have started that, and it's going to be, I think, it's going to be tire deg. I think, on 2 stops with fuel is no problem. I know they extended this race a few years back just to make it, a little more interesting. But we talked about this several places, like Barber. You could squeeze by, do it on 2, but everybody did it in 3, no saving, just going for it. So that goes to show you these are not endurance races whatsoever, even though they're hundreds of miles. They are sprint races. You go for it from the time the green comes out, going slow, and saving fuel just doesn't seem to be the way to go anymore.
90 laps will be that race on Sunday for the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And the checkered flag flies on this session, and David Malukas looks like he's P1, Davey, with a time of 1:07.775, and Palou was at an 8:33, and Armstrong was right there at an 8:51. So again, ultra close. And we mentioned in the all-skate, Award was fastest with a 67.791. Kirkwood with a 67.794.
Yeah, on top of it. And wait till qualifying. It's going to get tighter yet. We see Scott Dixon. He was really going to try to lay one down. And you watch, if you see the onboard mark, completely sideways tire spinning coming off turn 11, trying to get to that timeline, but that actually costs you more speed than helps you.
Let's go to Jonathan.
Just out of the IndyCar Medical Center. Nolan, first and foremost, how are you feeling?
No, all good. It was a light hit. Just looking for a little bit more. We were fast, had a fast, smart stop Chevy. So obviously not ideal, but it's the end of practice. We didn't lose any time. Just wanted to try and squeeze as much out of it as I could and learn as much as possible before qualifying, and I feel like we did that. So happy, ready for qualifying. Yeah.
You said you were chasing more speed. Is that what you attribute to the accident?
It's always kind of what causes it, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, plenty of running still left to go. You feeling good for qualifying?
Yeah, feeling really good for qualifying. We had a little issue yesterday that we fixed for today, so really happy with that. Everyone did a good job at Arrow McLaren, and the car's fast. We've been in the top 10 all day in practice too, and I expect the same in qualifying.
Looking forward to seeing you out there. Best of luck.
Thanks.
8th fastest in that session, Davey, at a 68.584, and Nolan Siegel pretty well aware of just going over the ragged edge, which all of these drivers try to do to squeeze everything that they can out of it. But the bottom line is I don't think it's a stretch to say that, that there's a lot of spotlight being shown on this young man because, I mean, he's so far this season, 20th, 24th, and an 18th.
Yeah. No, I mean, we talked about it early in the season. You go down and there's a handful of drivers in this field that think, okay, they need to have a good season to continue on in the series. And he's one of them. He's definitely one of them. And those mistakes don't help him by any stretch. I know it wasn't a hard hit. I know he's trying to extract more out of it. I know he says it's a fast car, all those things. But, man, you just have to be able to have results and not have incidents.
Well, and as much as you think and as intricate as these parts are of these cars, I mean, these teams do a really good job of setting these cars back up almost identical to the way they were before that incident. And I'll tell you what, we'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's check in with Alexander Rossi,
who was inducted into the Long Beach Grand Prix Walk of Fame earlier this week. Just got out of the race car, got done with a quick debrief with team boss Ed Carpenter and the rest of the Liquid Science crew. Alex, how would you assess the car in that session?
It's close. I mean, it's super tight right now. I think we're a little bit better than 15th would show, but yeah, I mean, it's close. It's just very tight.
the Walk of Fame induction on Thursday. You're a two-time winner here. How special was that as a commemoration of your achievements?
Yeah, it's obviously pretty cool. Something that I'm sure I'll appreciate when I'm done racing.
Fair enough. We'll let you go. That's Alexander Rossi.
Yeah, Alexander Rossi, again, a multiple winner here. He went back-to-back, in fact, Davey, back in 18 and 19.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, multiple winners here. Home race for him. He's a Californian. He's from this state. He obviously loves Long Beach Grand Prix. IndyCar wasn't his direction. He was a foreman who wanted to go Formula One. Didn't really work out. Comes over to IndyCar. Not only is able to win a couple races here, won the Indy 500, so has a lot of history. Had some bleak times though the last few years, just not being able to get back on victory podiums and it seems like to me, I love it too, because they had such a great guy. And we go way back. We're sprint car guys. That's how we got started here. And I think Ed's changed him. I just think that Alexander Rossi's having more fun. He seems to be more vocal when it comes to interviews, and just to seem like he's having a lot of fun, which I think that's a good space to be in.
Looking back through the history of this race, Davey, we mentioned, Alonso Jr. owned this place. Got mail here, in fact. Mario Andretti with multiple wins here. Juan Montoya, multiple wins here. Sebastian Bourdais won 3 straight. And we've talked about the recent prowess of Kyle Kirkwood and the success that he's had. And my memory was jarred a bit in 2014 and 2011. Mike Conway, a 2-time winner here on the streets of Long Beach.
Yeah, how about that? You kind of forget about Mike, and I teammated with Mike. Such a good guy. He still races a lot, still a champion, and he's got in the sports car side of it. He loved IndyCar. He didn't love ovals. that was one thing. He said, yeah, these ovals, you guys are crazy, right? But he did good on them. He had, unfortunately, a big incident at Speedway. But when it came to these road street courses and IndyCar, he fit right in and got a couple wins.
Well, he was the first, Davey, and the die was kind of cast with him, which we had for a few years in the series. And Ed Carpenter was the guy that the opposite is true. Ed wasn't comfortable on the road and street courses, so he goes and gets Mike Conway, and what's he do? He goes to victory lane.
That's exactly right.
Let's go to Ryan Marine.
David Maluk is out of the Verizon Chevy here at Long Beach. How would you assess 2 practices so far ahead of qualifying later today?
Well, thank goodness we got that practice session, because practice 1 was a mess. I mean, it's the classic Long Beach. You're not getting any laps. You're trying to guess and figure out sector times. I mean, yesterday we didn't get 1 lap through 9, 10, 11 to finish off any lap. We just ran into traffic. So thankfully today we managed to complete some laps. We got some good data. But it's still going to be, we're chasing down these Andretti cars. Looking at Kyle's lap times, he's very quick. So we're going to try to see what we can do, but we're getting closer.
Red flag in the second group for Mick Schumacher. We'll cover that off in a second. So, David, you mean to tell me all that time you guys put into putting run plans together and it was all wasted yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, literally, we're looking at data and we're trying to piece sector times together because we didn't complete a single lap. Everybody's it's just so much traffic. Everybody's trying to get their own lap. And, we know that going into it, but, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. But thankfully today we got some clear running in, and the data that we were able to pick apart yesterday, it was correct, and it's looking forward.
Totally new variable, though, thrown your way before qualifying. We've got a 100-minute IMSA race with much different rubber about to go down on the track. Do you have any idea what to expect?
I don't know. I think maybe, Team Penske, they got an IMSA crew. Maybe we could talk to those guys, have some history, with their rubber, going with Firestone rubber. And, yeah, I already told the engineers before I got out of the car, I'm like, hey, I'm going to put that pressure on you guys. You guys can think about that. Because I started thinking about it for 2 seconds, and I got overwhelmed. So I'm like,
you and me both.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you guys, you know what? That's on you. I trust you. I believe in you guys. You'll give me a good setup.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Ryan, stay with me. I just, the body language, of course, we can't see him. You can. You're right there face-to-face with him. I just feel like everything about this kid, in addition to his talent, he just has the mindset and the disposition to be able to handle taking over for Will Power in a ride as prominent as that 12 Verizon machine.
If body language is any indication, I have to agree completely. You would think stepping into one of the most coveted seats in all of motorsports could cause you to tighten up, cause you to stress out. But to the contrary, he seems more self-assured, more relaxed, more confident in his abilities than ever before. And I totally agree with your assessment. You could hear it, as you said, in that interview. And I'll tell you, with my own 2 eyes, I saw the same thing you described.
So, Davey, we are red, Mick Schumacher.
Yep.
And what's interesting, Davey, he found the tire barrier to drivers left around the fountain, and that's not an area where we usually see it off.
No, it really isn't. I think he just carried a little too much speed in there. He got his right side tires on that curbing, which just kind of took some grip away from the front. And right at that exit of going into exit of 2, going into 3, found that tire barrier. Stuck in there pretty good. It doesn't look like a lot of damage, but they can't get the car pulled out from underneath those tires right now. So taking a little additional time with 11 minutes left in this session.
Well, they do stop the clock because there's about a 15-minute window to get this 12 minutes in. So this group, by the time they get that car extricated from that tire barrier and get it back to the paddock, this group should get the full allotment of time. So here's where we are in terms of time and speed, Davey. Pato Award in the all-skate, the 40-minute session where everybody was out, was at a 67.791. And then in this first group that went out, David Malukas at a 67.775.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to continue to be closer and closer. One thing, I did look around that fountain, the road goes all the way around that, and I seen rubber on the side that was blocked off, and like race cars have been on there, which it looks like the drifters had went on there at one point, but maybe interesting, just mix that up back and forth every year, go around one way one time and another way the next. But these times, right now, when we see Ericsson, that Andretti car, I'm going to keep an eye on the Andretti cars, especially for this group right now in Kirkwood, just to see what kind of times they lay down. And that's going to tell us what the difference of speed is between Group 1 and Group 2.
Yeah, they've taken the front nose wing assembly off of that car. They're getting ready to put it on the hook, and it took off some of the O'Reilly Auto Parts banners that were covering those tires. So they're working as feverishly as they can. And as we look at the times that are up on the clock, basically we had enough time for an outlap for these teams and drivers.
Yeah, that's right. So right now, I think the time, they're gonna have a little bit of time, but it's just unfortunate because we are timed sometimes on these, and when one driver makes that mistake, it kind of affects all of them. But right now, it seems that they're going to hold on to that 11-minute mark.
So this is, by the way, it is Rosenquist, Ferrucci, Ericsson, Power, Newgarden, McLaughlin, Award, Grosjean, Reedus, VK, Foster, and Schumacher. And we talked about again, and hate to belabor to the point, and we're not singling him out, Davey, but the reality of it is now, for the second day in a row, yesterday was an issue not of his doing, but for the second day in a row, valuable seat time and the chance to get comfortable and answer questions with the setup of the race car, that opportunity is gone for Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, that is, we said it yesterday, like track time is what he needs. He needs to be in that car as many laps as possible. And he got some. He put it up to that 22nd spot in that first round, but then when it came to this split session, didn't get any laps in.
Was it a matter of just a poor entry point, carrying too much speed, not heating the tires, or a combination of all of that?
Yeah, I think a little combination of all. I think he just had too much speed in there, got them right side tires up on the curbing, and then just when it kind of came back down, didn't have enough grip up in the area he was and just slid. Like I say, it wasn't a hard hit, but enough to cost him a lot of time.
All right, so the clock again is halted as they've just about completed getting that car out of the tire barrier, getting it up on the hook, and getting it back to the pits. And Davey, a lot of a focus once the dust settles on Long Beach and everybody heads home. No rest for the weary. I mean, the trucks will come back with those cars, and I would imagine a lot of them already have their oval package put together. Those that have the ability to do that, before you know it, we're going to be testing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's right. Just got the schedule today for testing at the Speedway, and it's happening next Monday, Tuesday. It's on, and it's going to be exciting to get back to that 2.5-mile famed oval, and I'm excited about it. I think every team's excited about it. And I'm sorry, a week from Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's coming quickly. Like you said, by the time these cars get home, it's a quick turnaround for these teams. Like you said, most of the oval cars are sitting in their shops ready for this test.
And you will disappoint us because for the second year in a row, you've chosen to be a race strategist for Jack Harvey instead of your role as the analyst for IndyCar Radio.
Yeah, and I do miss it. Trust me, guys. And Dennis and Dry Reinbold, they've been such good partners with me for so many years and have done my career so much good. And when that opportunity came to work with them on a not a full-time basis, but pretty much, I mean, we're really trying to put some stuff together and trying to get that team back where Dennis wants in Victory Lane and Indy 500. As we know, that's the only race that they run. They have two really good drivers. We just talked to one of them, Connor Daly and Jack Harvey, and the cars are absolutely, they work on them year round. I mean, this isn't just, it's an effort for the 500, but they keep the same crew guys, and so they really have an opportunity. Matter of fact, with Ryan Hunter-Reay last year, ran him short on fuel just by a half a lap, and I think he could have won that darn race. If you look at the replays, he had the speed to do it. So it's exciting to be with those guys. I think everybody there wants to win this race so bad, and it's for Dennis Reinbold. He's put so much into the sport. He's been in here a long, long time, and it's going to be great.
Let's go to Ryan Marine.
One of 3 rookies experiencing Long Beach for the first time is Kyle Collette, who's having a quick word with a fan, but we'll jump in real quick. Kyle, your first chance to drive an IndyCar, really to drive any car around Long Beach. What do you make of this place?
Yeah, it's a very cool track. I think one of the nicest street circuits that we go to. Honestly, it's super nice to drive. It's hard to put a lap together here. We're struggling a little bit with the session just to manage to get everything right in one lap. It's a tough track to do it. You need to be very close to the wall and pushing the limits quite a lot. But no, it's fun to drive, and let's see if we can hook up a good qualifying.
Is there a section of the track that you find most enjoyable?
I would say like turn 4 or 5. It's quite tricky to get on power, especially with the crest, and you're always a little bit on top of the track there with the rear. So it's a fun place to drive.
I was talking with Larry Foyt earlier, and he pointed out that right now you're kind of steering the ship for the team. Santino's struggling to get the balance of his car. As a rookie, is that a point of pride that occasionally you can be there at the tip of the spear for the team?
Yeah, obviously I think I need to work on my driving as well. There's a couple of points that I need to improve for qualifying. It's my first time here, so definitely there's a lot of room for improvement going into qualifying with the red tires to find the limit in one lap. But no, together with the team, I have a really good group of guys, engineers there, that they help me a lot, especially in prepping to come before the race weekend. So I think I can arrive here as ready as I can be and put on a good job the first session and keep improving.
And finally, I know a lot of your focus, of course, is on the job at hand at Long Beach, but we're just over a week away from your first chance to drive an IndyCar at the Oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That brought a big smile to your face when I said it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's obviously on the back of my mind. I try not to think too much about it because I know that I will be super excited when the time comes. So I'm just taking it day by day. There's a lot of work to do, especially now ahead of qualifying, and I just focus on what I'm doing right now.
Any extra excitement, though, when you think about how good the Foyt team has been at the Speedway the last few years?
Yeah, obviously last year they put both cars in the top 5. But as a rookie, I just want to learn as much as I can and do steps progressively, and hopefully I can put on a good race and a good show.
All right, Kyle, thank you for the time.
Yeah, good stuff. An exciting time for Kyle Collette for sure. And I think all in all, I have every reason to believe that Larry's been happy with what he's been able to do so far this year, Davey. We've talked about seat time and you know, how important it is to get it. And I think Kyle Collette's done a pretty good job of that this year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that he's done a really good job with it. I mean, he's a rookie, as we just talked about. Larry seems to be happy with him. It seems like he gives some information, good information back to the team, learning as they go. But it seems like a good fit over there, that A.J. Foyt camp.
Yeah, finished 12th in the race at Arlington and was 19th in Phoenix, started the season, started 24th and finished 17th in St. Petersburg. And at Barber Motorsports Park, it was kind of a struggle for him over the course of the weekend. Started 21st, and he finished in the 21st position. Under 8 minutes to go in the session, and Felix Rosenqvist, we see speeds continue to climb. They've really only been able to complete about 3 laps, Davey, since we've been back to green.
Yeah, I think they're going to start dropping now. I think they've got out there. You got to remember the first couple laps, they weren't really up to speed because of Schumacher's incident. So they're going to get some heat in these tires. They're going to start cutting some good laps right here coming up.
Well, Davey, I do want to put a period on our discussion about you serving as race strategist for Ryan Reinbold this year and taking you out of the booth for IndyCar Radio and the IMS Radio Network. Obviously, when you reached out to us and told us you had this opportunity, we were all in, gave you 110% support. We understood that, and we were lucky last year to get a couple of your predecessors who kept the seat warm for you once upon a time. And it's Zach Beach and Anders Krohn. And Anders won't be able to be with us this year because of travel issues, but we're happy to have Zach Beach back. And he'll keep your seat warm for both qualifying, carb day, and racing.
Yeah, I love it. Zach does a great job as well. And obviously another great racing driver. Love to be back in IndyCar. And still staying behind the wheel, some sports car stuff. So he'll do a great job for everybody.
So Award, Ericsson, BK, Rosenqvist, and Newgard, the top 5. Then Grosjean, McLaughlin, Ferrucci, Power, and Louis Foster, the 10 cars that have turned laps here. And got to be pretty happy if your guys like Pato O'Ward and Marcus Ericsson, you were fast yesterday. It's always cool when you come back and be fast the next day, right?
No question. That means, when you're off the truck and you just have nothing worse than going off the truck and being really fast, and the second day you come and the car's completely different. That's not the case for these guys. They seem to be fast all weekend so far. Pato O'Ward, as you said, the car's moving around a little more than he probably wants, but we know he's trying to extract everything he can out of that car, kind of going over the curbing down there in turn 9. Finds himself P1 right now with Ericsson VK following him.
Now, the one to watch for me is Will Power, because part of his comments in the debrief yesterday, Will was obviously very pleased because he was very fastest in fact. And he said, I think we've got a little bit more on that race car. And as we've seen it from time to time, sometimes when you're fast on Friday and you're looking for a little more and you get to Saturday, you went the wrong direction and you spend the rest of the day chasing your tail a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Sometimes you say, okay, here's where we need to be. Here's what we need to do to the car to be a little bit quicker, and you do it, and it goes the other direction as well. I mean, not every change is just automatically to go faster, and sometimes these teams run into that, so then they have to back up and then go the other direction to see if they can make, big hit with somebody right there into turn 1, it looks like. Who is that? Oh, that is... let me see, Hauger, it looks like.
It looks like the car of Dennis Hauger has, as you
it's
mentioned,
either Hauger
Davey,
or Grosjean.
He has made heavy cut. It is Romain Grosjean. It's the 18 car.
Yeah, big hit. They've been struggling to find speed all weekend. They've been at the bottom of the charts. He just ran P4 in that session, the fastest he's been, I think, and we'll get an eye on it and see what happens. What happens, he hits that inside curbing, and that curbing is just too big to hit. You cannot put your left front tire on that curbing. It lifts the front of the car off the ground, and it's easy to do. I mean, you want to feel like you can get as close as you can, but when it lifted the front of the car off the ground, it just shot him straight across the track into that hard barrier. That car is wiped out. I mean, they'll be lucky to get it ready for qualifying, to be honest with you.
That was a pretty big hit for sure for Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, they're going to work hard. These teams are very good, but the Dallara trucks here, they'll do all they can to get the parts and stuff to them, but that was a big hit. That could be a bell housing breakage, a motor breakage. That could be a lot of things to go. That could even have some tub damage, as big a hit as that was. He's out of the car and okay, though.
Promising start to the season for Romain Grosjean after being out of the series last year, Davey, with Dale Coyne Racing. He started 6th and finished 8th at St. Petersburg, and then obviously issues at Phoenix, mechanical issues relegated him to last. And then he finished 23rd at Arlington. And all in all, a fairly serviceable weekend at Barber after starting 6th. He brought home in the top 15. Yeah,
right. They've had some speed. They've had some bad luck as well. I mean, not even getting to start the Phoenix race. That was pretty devastating. But, Mark, it just showed that under slow motion when I look over to the monitor. And when it hits the slow motion, you can just see that car flexing around and things folding up and breaking, absorbing that energy to keep these drivers safe, which is really, really good. The bad side of it is it tears a lot of stuff up, but it does, Roman's fine. He got right out of the car, getting in that safety vehicle now. But, boy, these cars take a big punishment.
Well, Davey, and unfortunately, because of the length of time it's going to take to get him back to the infield care center and get that car off of the racetrack, the checkered flag flies on this section because there's just so long of a window to be able to get that 12 minutes in.
Yeah, that's right. That's one thing about the split sessions. It could be a little bit of a negative is things like this happen and the guys in the second group really don't get as much time as the guys in the first group. But hey, it doesn't happen all the time. That's just the way it works out. And we have to go. There's a lot of other series here that have to have track time as well, so we have to get off in our allotted time as they pick up that alt car right now.
So the fastest that Ericsson could do in this session to be fastest is a 68.373, O'Ward at a 68.750, BK at a 69.026. Grosjean, before he hit, as Davey said, 4th fastest at a 69.228. Joseph Newgarden at a 69.330, Santino Ferrucci a 69.658. Rosenquist with a 69.788, and then McLaughlin, Foster, Kirkwood, and Power. Jonathan.
Down out of the IndyCar Care Center with Mick Schumacher. Mick, first of all, how are you feeling after the hit?
No issue. I mean, it was a light hit, unfortunate hit because I just locked up the tire, and obviously that corner is pretty tight and it comes back at you. So it ended up just being being too tight for that. But it's something that happens, and we're going to analyze it, but I think there's not much analyzing needed just because I know I locked up. So.
I know track time comes at a premium here. You lost some running time through no fault of your own in practice 1, but made up for it in practice 2. What did you learn in second practice that you can take into qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can take a lot of it into because it's my first time out here. Good to get that running in. Obviously, grip will probably be a bit different once the IMSA guys have been out there and have had their race. So yeah, anticipating that there'll be a bit of a change, and obviously first time for me on the Reds out here. So lots of new stuff coming my way, but hopefully with the help of my teammates, who have had a lot of experience, but also a good amount of running, we'll be able to put something together and get out there.
Well, best of luck later this afternoon in qualifying. That's Mick Schumacher.
Interestingly enough, Davey, that's not the first time we've heard a reference to the fact that drivers are a little concerned about how much the grip level is going to change after IMSA runs between now and qualifying later today.
That's exactly right. Things change. I mean, and there's a long race with IMSA. It's going to change the track conditions quite a bit. It's going to be a little bit of a guessing game for everybody when it comes to qualifying.
Let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood.
He's got a big smile on his face. He did as soon as he hopped out of the race car and started talking to his engineer, Jeremy Billis, and his strategist, Brian Herta. That's probably a good sign for you, maybe a scary sign for the rest of the field, given how quick you've been around this place in the past.
Quite honestly, I was laughing because we didn't get a run, and the other group did. So, I mean, it's pretty unfortunate because we want to try some stuff still, right? We're still learning here. So, but nonetheless, our car's fast, so that's a good sign. That's a good thing, and hopefully that will stay the same here this afternoon, right? But the conditions are going to be way different than we've ever seen. We've never driven in qualifying here when there's been a whole entire IMSA race that goes through. So we're going to have to adapt to it pretty quick, I can imagine. But, yeah, hoping for the best right now.
Speaking of which, I saw that your teammate on the IMSA side, Ben Barnicoat's up on the box cheering you on this weekend. Is that fun to have?
Yeah, the goofy man, Ben Barnicoat. Yeah, he's come over a couple times, actually. And I think the last time he was on the stand, we were also P1 in a practice. So he's a little good luck charm on the pit stand for us. Yeah, just showing him the ways over here, and they show me their ways over on the IMSA side. So repaying that favor.
Keep him around for the race.
Yeah, there we go.
That's Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, Davey, given how disjointed this session has been, especially the last two, qualifying going to be very interesting this afternoon.
It's going to be very interesting, just we talked about with all the different rubber on the racetrack. A lot of these guys not getting practice to find that last little bit out of their cars. So it's going to be mixed up. It's going to make it fun.
All right, so we want you to join us a little bit later on this afternoon, 3:30 local time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be joined by Jake Query, Nick Yeoman, and Michael Young. They'll be calling action out on the course with yours truly. Davey Hamilton, our driver analyst, will be with us, and Ryan Jonathan will handle things from the pit lane. Again, when we go qualifying a little bit later on today, 3:30 local time, 6:30 Eastern, on the usual outlets. The director of IndyCar Radio is Chris Pollock. On-site engineering and production courtesy of Rick Evans. Master control operations by Corbin Lingenfelder. Thanks to Jonathan Grace and Ryan Marine for their insight for the pits. For our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton, this is Mark James saying so long for now from the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
The preceding was an exclusive copyrighted presentation of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. This is the NTT IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio.
The need for blood is constant, and sometimes that need becomes critical, from accident victims and cancer patients to premature babies and those with blood disorders. Hospital patients rely on all of us to make sure the blood is on the shelves and ready to help. That's why the American Red Cross needs you to make an appointment to give blood today by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org. Your one blood donation can help save more than one life.
This is where fans become family, where history becomes legacy. Gasoline alley to grandstand, pagoda to pole position. A chorus of 300,000 individual voices erupting above the harmony of 12,000 RPMs. United, we race. 10th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge. Month of May tickets available now at IMS.com.
Learn how thousands of smart homeowners are investing about $1 to avoid expensive home repair bills. John, a former non-customer, said, "My air conditioner broke and I had to spend $1,900 to fix it." Jeff, a customer, wrote, "My air conditioner broke and I got a new one at no out-of-pocket cost." Mary, a former non-customer, wrote, "My heating system stopped running. I had to spend $3,000 to get a new one." Lisa, a customer, wrote, "My heater stopped working. I got it fixed at no out-of-pocket cost." For about $1 a day, you can have all the major appliances and systems in your home guaranteed fixed or replaced. Call now. If the lines are busy, please call back.
Call the Home Warranty Hotline now at 800-413-4376, 800-413-4376. 800-413-4376. That's 800-413-4376.
This is an IndyCar flashback. Listen as we dig into the archives and relive the most iconic moments in IndyCar history. Now, here's Alex Wolf.
Have a trip back in time on IndyCar Flashback as we look at classic action featuring the audio of IndyCar Radio. This is Alex Wolf, and as always joined by the Director of Editorial with Penske Entertainment, Paul Kelly. And Paul, an interesting one, a unique one, the 2008 Indy Japan 300, our focus on this edition of IndyCar Flashback, and really a unique weekend and unique times. We've talked on previous episodes about the open-wheel split kart in the IRL began in 1996, and after over a decade of that, it finally came to an end in late February of 2008 and brought the two sides back together.
I mean, this weekend was historic in so many ways. Obviously, Danica winning, the first woman to win in IndyCar Series, the only woman to win in IndyCar Series. And then it was the final Champ Car race, and it was Long Beach. And that two IndyCar, and it was not uncommon for two IndyCar races to happen on the same weekend because there were rival series. But this was after unification, and IndyCar had said, okay, Champ Car, you can run Long Beach as your farewell. It's the same weekend as Motegi. But by then, Champ Car had kind of shut down operations, so IndyCar kind of had to split its staff in half, and half the staff went to Motegi, and then some people went to Long Beach, and people who worked for IMS went to Long Beach. It was a really interesting weekend. I was at Long Beach that weekend. I was sent to Long Beach. I was just working for IMS at the time, and I went to Long Beach to help Champ Car wrap up there, and then most of the IndyCar staff went to Motegi. So it was really odd because you had, like, your attention split almost in half. And, like, there was history being made everywhere you looked. I mean, it was the last race for Champ Car. It was Long Beach. But then you had Motegi and you had Danica winning. And it was just, it's a weekend I don't think people look back on as like one of these milestone historical moments in the history of open-wheel racing in this country. But not to be melodramatic, it kind of was.
Yeah, and it was also the uniqueness of, with the fact of that, and being that the Long Beach race was under the banner of IndyCar paying IndyCar points, you had the two race winners of the season running at separate locations. You had Scott Dixon, the winner at Homestead Miami Speedway, the first race post-reunification. You had the Champ Car teams trying to drink out of a fire hose with the Hondas and the Delaras. And then you had the next race on the streets of St. Petersburg, Graham Rahal winning for Newman Haas, and he was going to be at Long Beach while Dixon was at Motegi. So you had sort of that wrinkle added into of third race of the year and not seeing those two winners competing on the same track.
Yeah, it really was. It was a really interesting time because everybody, as I recall, was ecstatic that the Civil War was over, no longer had a house divided. And everybody had an idea of a framework for moving forward, but nobody really had an idea of how it was all going to work out. And then, like you said, you had like these two parallel universes competing at the same time, and it was just... it was a wild weekend. It was really, really interesting. I just remember that, and like I said earlier, just remember it was just splitting your attention between the two. And, you know, they say when you go into a baseball game, you can't tell the players without a program. I definitely needed a program that weekend for both races.
Yeah, and then you head to Motegi. It was a place that IndyCar style racing had run at since 1998. CART had run there the first 4 or 5 seasons, 98 through 02, 03. The IRL shows up. Scott Sharp gets the first win there. But Motegi, unique track, unique location, and the weather and conditions threw another curveball, as if things couldn't be confused enough. Then the race in Japan gets delayed a day.
Well, it did. They had weepers in turn 4, and they were. I read somewhere in preparation here that they developed a machine. It looked like a giant shop vac to me. It might have been the precursor of the NASCAR Air Titan, for all I know. But they sucked like 10,000 gallons of water out of the track. I mean, that's not a weeper. That's a natural spring under turn 4. So there was no way they were going to run that first day. But it got cleared up and they ran. But again, that just added to the intrigue and the mystery and just sort of the beautiful chaos, if I might say, of this weekend, because everybody knew this weekend was going to be weird. We just knew it was going to be weird because we were running split, the same sanction, but 2 races on different sides of the ocean. But it just kind of got weirder as it went along because you had the weepers, and then the race was delayed, and everything that unfolded with the history with Danica, and yeah, it was. It set that delay did set the scene for some strangeness, no doubt.
And before we get into the actual race, just one more sort of quick thought about Motegi. I mean, a track in Japan, Honda heavily involved in it, essentially carved out of a mountain. And for the listeners that maybe are new to IndyCar racing and didn't really see races there, I think maybe the closest comparison as far as a track configuration and layout that we have now is maybe a worldwide technology.